Love isn't always a fairy tale. Sometimes, it's a battlefield where the wounded become warriors. And Sophia. She's the most resilient warrior I've ever known. Picture a tiny apartment in the heart of the city, walls plastered with headshots and scattered scripts. This was Michael and Sophia's world, a dream factory where hope lived on the thinnest of margins. Sophia worked multiple jobs, pouring every single penny into Michael's acting aspirations. She wasn't just his girlfriend, she was his entire support system. When Michael landed a small recurring role in a local TV series, the world seemed to explode with possibility. "This is our moment," he told her. And Sophia believed. God, did she believe? But moments are fragile. They shatter faster than a heartbeat. The changes crept in slowly. Late nights became the norm. Suspicious phone calls started trickling in. Money began disappearing from their shared accounts. Sophia would wait up, preparing meals that would grow cold, her intuition whispering warnings she desperately tried to ignore. Then came the day that would slice her life into before and after. Sophia came home early, hope bubbling in her heart. Instead, she walked into a nightmare. Michael, her partner, her everything, was with Joy. Not just anyone, but her closest friend. The woman she had trusted more than anyone in the world. The moment she saw them, time stopped. The sound that escaped her was something between a gasp and a wounded animal's cry. Complete and utter betrayal that went beyond mere infidelity. But here's where Sophia's story becomes extraordinary. She could have been destroyed. Many would have been. Instead, she chose to rebuild. Her friends became her lifeline. They reminded her of her worth, of the strength that had always lived inside her. Slowly, painfully, she began to reconstruct her life. Night classes, savings, rediscovering parts of herself she had buried during years of blind devotion. Months later, when she heard Michael had left town with Joy, something unexpected happened. Relief. Pure, unadulterated relief. She didn't feel anger or hatred towards them. She was just happy she had escaped a toxic relationship. I've watched Sophia transform. From a woman who had sacrificed everything for a man's dream to someone who now composes her own melody of life. Her story isn't just about heartbreak. It's about resurrection. "My life didn't end with him," she told me once, a small smile playing on her lips. "It began when I left." And isn't that the most powerful story of all? Not of how someone broke you, but of how you broke free. The years that followed were Sophia's renaissance. She didn't just survive, she thrived in ways Michael could never have imagined. Her night classes transformed into a promising career in marketing. The same determination she'd once poured into Michael's dreams, she now channeled into her own ambitions. Clients were drawn to her, not just for her professional skills, but for the quiet strength that radiated from her. One evening, at an industry networking event, she met Daniel. Unlike Michael, Daniel was different. Established in his career, grounded, with a gentleness that spoke of genuine confidence. He didn't chase dreams, he built them, methodically and purposefully. Their first conversations were electric. Not with the desperate passion she'd felt with Michael, but with a mature connection that felt like coming home. Daniel listened, truly listened, when she spoke about her journey, her dreams, her past. But Sophia had learned her lessons. She wasn't rushing. She observed. She waited. She tested the waters carefully, remembering every red flag from her past relationship. What she didn't know was that her story was about to take a turn that would challenge everything she'd rebuilt. A turn that would make her past with Michael look like a mere prelude to a much more complex drama. Little did Sophia realize that some ghosts don't just disappear. They wait. They watch. And sometimes, they return when you least expect them. The unexpected came on a crisp autumn morning. Sophia was preparing for a major client presentation when her phone rang. An unknown number. "Is this Sophia?" a deep, unfamiliar voice asked. Something in the tone made the hair on her neck stand up. "Who's asking?" "A friend of Michael's. Actually, more of a business associate." The man's voice was calculated, professional. "There are some things you should know about what really happened back then." Sophia's hand gripped the phone tighter. She'd spent years healing, rebuilding. The last thing she wanted was another connection to her painful past. "I'm not interested," she said firmly. "Even if it involves a child." The man's words hung in the air, heavy and deliberate. The words seemed to tilt. A child. Michael's child. The man continued, "Michael didn't just live with Joy. There were complications. Consequences that go beyond what you know." Sophia's carefully constructed life, her successful career, her budding relationship with Daniel, her hard-earned peace, suddenly felt like a fragile glass sculpture about to shatter. "What child?" she whispered. "Meet me. And I'll explain everything." The man gave an address. A downtown coffee shop. The same coffee shop where her friends used to gather and speak about her in hushed, admiring tones. As she hung up, Sophia realized her journey was far from over. In fact, it was about to become more complicated than she could have ever imagined. The ghosts of her past were no longer just waiting. They were calling. And she would have to answer. A week later, Sophia sat in the designated coffee shop, her fingers wrapped around a calling latte. The man who called himself Marcus was precisely punctual. Mid-40s, expensive suit, the kind of professional who looked like he could solve problems or create them with equal ease. "I worked with Michael in talent management," Marcus began, sliding a manila envelope across the table. Before everything fell apart. Inside were documents that made Sophia's blood run cold. Paternity test. Bank statements. Photographs of a young boy, no more than 5 years old, with Michael's distinctive green eyes. "His name is Alex," Michael said quietly. "Michael has a son. A son he never told you about. A son born just months before he left with Joy. The child wasn't just Joy's. He was someone else's entirely. Someone Michael had kept secret during their entire relationship. The mother died during childbirth," Marcus continued. "Michael was listed as the father, but he never took responsibility. Joy knew. She always knew." Sophia's mind reeled. Not just a betrayal of their relationship, but a complete fabrication of their entire life together. A child. A hidden life. "Where is he now?" Sophia asked, her voice barely a whisper. Marcus's expression darkened. "That's the complicated part. Alex is currently in foster care. Michael and Joy disappeared, leaving no trace. And now, legally, someone needs to step forward." The implication hung between them. Unspoken, but crystal clear. Sophia realized her carefully reconstructed life was about to be turned upside down once again. A child. Michael's child. A child who now had no one. And she was the only connection left. Her first instinct was to walk away. To protect the life she'd so carefully rebuilt. Daniel didn't know about any of this. Her career was at its peak. A sudden appearance of a child connected to the man who had destroyed her, would change everything. But something stopped her. Those green eyes in the photograph. They weren't just Michael's. They were innocent. Vulnerable. When she called the foster care agency, the social worker's voice was weary. "We've been trying to locate any relatives. The boy has been in the system for 6 months. 6 months. Alone. Abandoned." Daniel was understanding when she finally told him. More than understanding. "If this is something you feel you need to do," he said, "I'm here." The first meeting with Alex was nothing like Sophia expected. He was quiet. Reserved. A child who had learned early that adults were unpredictable. His foster parents, kind but overwhelmed, had multiple children and limited resources. "Do you know why you're here?" Sophia asked him during their first supervised visit. Alex just looked at her with those familiar green eyes. "My daddy went away," he said simply. "And nobody wants me." Those words broke something inside her. By the third visit, she knew. Somehow, she knew. This child, this innocent soul caught in a web of adult mistakes, was going to become her responsibility. What she didn't know was the storm brewing. Michael and Joy might have disappeared, but they hadn't truly gone away. And their return would shake everything Sophia had built. The legal battle was more complex than Sophia could have imagined. The court proceedings revealed layers of deception that went far beyond her initial understanding. Michael hadn't just abandoned Alex. He and Joy had been involved in something darker. Financial records subpoenaed during the custody proceedings showed large, unexplained money transfers. Bank accounts in offshore locations. Connections to a talent management agency that seemed more like a front for something else. Marcus, the man who first approached her, turned out to be more than just a casual business associate. He was a private investigator hired by Alex's biological grandmother, a woman who had been desperately searching for her grandson. During one particularly intense court session, a bombshell dropped. The biological mother wasn't just a random woman. She was connected to a prominent entertainment industry family. Her death wasn't as straightforward as initial reports suggested. Alex began spending more time with Sophia. Slowly, carefully, they built a connection. He was a quiet child, but smart. Too smart for his age. He had learned to observe, to be careful, to protect himself. Daniel stood by her through everything. But Sophia could see the strain. This wasn't the life he had signed up for: a sudden child, a complex legal battle, the shadow of Michael and Joy's mysterious past hanging over them. The deeper they dug, the more complicated things became. Michael and Joy weren't just two people who had betrayed her. They were part of something much larger. Something that involved money, power, and secrets that people would kill to keep hidden. And now, Sophia and Alex were right in the middle of it. The real story was just beginning. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A USB drive hidden in Alex's belongings from his time in foster care. When Sophia's tech-savvy friend recovered the encrypted files, they discovered something shocking. Video recordings. Financial documents. Communication logs. Michael and Joy weren't just running from responsibility. They were running from something far more dangerous. The talent agency they worked with was a front for an elaborate money laundering operation. High-profile actors, directors, and industry executives were involved. Alex wasn't just a child caught in a custody battle. He was a potential witness. His biological mother had been investigating the operation before her mysterious death. Marcus, the private investigator, revealed more. They've been tracking Alex. They know he might have information that could expose everything. Suddenly, the stakes weren't just about custody or past betrayals. They were about survival. One night, Sophia noticed a car parked across the street. Watching. Always watching. When she tried to get the license plate, the car disappeared into the night. Daniel suggested they go to the authorities. But Sophia knew better. The corruption ran deep. Some of the names in those documents were powerful enough to make entire police departments disappear. They would have to play a different game. A more dangerous one. And Alex, the child with the haunting green eyes, held the key to a secret that could bring down an entire corrupt system. The hunt was just beginning. The next move came from an unexpected ally. A journalist named Elena who had been investigating the entertainment industry's darker side for years. "Your son's mother was working on something big," Elena told Sophia during a clandestine meeting in a downtown parking garage. She had evidence that could expose a network of corruption spanning multiple entertainment companies. The documents revealed a complex web. Not just money laundering, but a systematic exploitation of young talent. Promising actors were recruited, controlled, manipulated. Those who resisted or knew too much simply disappeared. Alex's biological mother, Sarah Williams, had been an investigative journalist herself. She had been close to exposing the entire operation when she was killed. Her death was officially ruled as a car accident, but the evidence suggested otherwise. "They've been watching Alex," Elena explained. "He might have copies of his mother's research. That's why Michael and Joy ran. That's why they are still hunting." Sophia realized they were now in a race against time. Protect Alex. Uncover the truth. Stay alive. Daniel suggested they disappear. Change identities. But Sophia knew running wasn't the answer. They needed to fight. The first attempt on their lives came on a quiet Tuesday morning. A staged car accident. A near miss that was too precise to be random. Markers confirmed their suspicions. They know you're getting close. And they'll do anything to keep their secrets buried. Alex, meanwhile, seemed unnervingly calm. He had a resilience that belied his young age. Sometimes, when he thought no one was watching, Sophia caught him studying the documents, his green eyes focused with an intensity that was both terrifying and fascinating. "They killed my mom," he said once, matter-of-factly. "And I'm going to make sure they don't get away with it." The hunt was on. And the hunters were about to become the hunted. The plan took shape slowly, meticulously. Elena's investigative network, Marcus's connections, and Sophia's marketing strategic skills created a complex web of their own. They decided to use Alex's information strategically. Not rush, but calculate every move. The USB drive his mother had hidden contained encrypted files that could blow open the entire entertainment industry's underground network. Daniel set up a secure server, creating multiple backup locations for the data. No single point of failure. Marcus began tracking the key players, mapping their connections, identifying their vulnerabilities. The first strategic move was unexpected. They leaked a small, carefully curated piece of information to a trusted online investigative platform. Just enough to make the corrupt network nervous, to force them to make a mistake. Within days, 2 mid-level executives from the talent agency suddenly resigned. Another was caught in a compromising financial audit. The network was starting to unravel, piece by careful piece. But they knew the real players wouldn't go down easy. The bigger fish were watching, calculating their next move. Alex, surprisingly, was their secret weapon. The child who had been silent and observant now became their strategist. He remembered conversations, details that adults had overlooked. Small things his mother had told him. Fragments of information that now became crucial pieces of a complex puzzle. "They always meet at the Starlight Hotel," he told them one evening, describing a memory from years ago. "The men in dark suits. My mom used to talk about it. Sophia realized they were no longer just victims. They were hunters. And the hunt was just beginning. Their first real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A burner phone, untraceable, rang in Marcus's secure office. The caller was a woman, her voice trembling with fear and anger. "I know what happened to Sarah Williams," she whispered. "And I can prove everything." Her name was Rebecca Chen, a former talent agent who had been pushed out of the industry after asking too many questions. She had documentation, financial records, communication logs, evidence of systematic cover-ups that went beyond simple money laundering. "They don't just control careers," Rebecca explained during a secret meeting. "They control lives. Entire futures." Sarah was getting too close, and they eliminated her. The network was more extensive than they'd imagined. Major studios, record labels, talent agencies, all connected through a complex web of blackmail, manipulation, and silent agreements. Alex's information, combined with Rebecca's documents, started painting a terrifying picture. This wasn't just about one murder or one cover-up. This was a systemic machine that had been operating for decades. Daniel discovered something even more chilling. Some of the most respected Hollywood executives were deeply embedded in this network. Oscar-winning producers, legendary directors, people whose names were synonymous with entertainment excellence. "They've been doing this for years," Marcus confirmed. "Controlling narratives, destroying careers, eliminating threats." Sophia looked at Alex, who was studying the documents with an intensity that seemed beyond his years. They weren't just fighting for justice anymore. They were fighting for survival. And the real war was just beginning. The final scene unfolds with tension crackling in the air. A late-night meeting at an abandoned warehouse. Sophia, Daniel, Marcus, and Rebecca gathered around a table covered with documents and digital evidence. Suddenly, Alex interrupts their planning. "They're coming," he says quietly. His green eyes, so like his mother's, are focused on the warehouse's entrance. A shadow moves outside. Then another. The sound of multiple car engines grows louder. Marcus reaches for a weapon. Daniel moves protectively in front of Sophia and Alex. "Whatever happens," Sophia whispers, looking at Alex, "we finish what your mother started." The warehouse door begins to shake. Something is about to break. And nothing will ever be the same. To be continued.